Hey, it's Tim.
And it's Amy from GoWithLess. We're so glad you're here with us this week. In today's video, we're going to be talking all about our plans for the next 4 months. We have a lot planned. We're excited to share it with you.
Every Wednesday here on our channel, we come out with a new video, typically talking about our early retirement or our nomadic lifestyle. In 2015, we left our careers in our late 40s and retired early. And in January of 2020, we sold our home and became full-time nomads.
We hope you'll give our video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe over here. And let's get talking about, first of all, it's really surprising that we did go ahead and book so far into the future, and we're going to talk about our plans through August, but we actually have plans through September. They're a little more loosey-goosey, but let's get started with where we are. We're here in what's called Brookside Gardens in Silver Spring, Maryland. It is glorious. First of all, it is free. The weather is probably 80 degrees with a light breeze, nice and cool, like in the air. It is flowering and colorful and green, and so many people out. It's a Sunday. We're having a great time.
Amy took all the words that there are to say about this place. It is completely
all of the words.
All of the words. It is gorgeous, and we are. And one of the best things about it is the fact that it's free. But it's just acres and acres and acres of beauty. We were here last weekend enjoying the beauty, and it's completely different this week because it's spring and things are changing, and so it's lovely to be here. We're very excited to be here.
It's only like 10 minutes from our home. So we're going to talk a little bit briefly about what changed, because we did have our summer kind of mapped out, and that is all out the window. So we were supposed to go to Spain for a house sit for most of June and July. Well, in April, the homeowners, they had a cruise booked, was half of that, and that canceled. It was a European cruise. So that canceled, and we decided mutually that it didn't make a lot of sense to continue with that plan. They may or may not go away. Spain may or may not open up. We may or may not be on lockdown there. So it certainly didn't make sense to get into that as a committed plan. And so we mutually decided not to do that anymore. We are hoping to be doing that next summer. We're in conversation now.
Yeah, we have some nomadic friends who we had a conversation with a few weeks ago, and they suggested, well, wouldn't it be just cooler to simply be in Spain, even if you were in lockdown and you could walk around? At least you would be in Spain versus in DC or something like that. You'd be doing something that's different. I think at the end of the day, we decided no, that wouldn't necessarily
Not
be.
right now.
Not right now. It just didn't make sense for us to hop on a plane and potentially be stuck there paying a lot of money to be in a place where it's just things are too up in the air. So we decided there's going to be enough good stuff to do here in the States. We had this experience over the past year. I don't want to say that I was very disappointed that we're not getting on a plane. I really, 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 and I think Amy does too, want to get on a plane and leave the country, but we just didn't think the time was right.
So with Europe out of the conversation for this summer, Tim got me up one morning and said, you know, I have a fun plan. Why don't we do 8 weeks, like 1 week, 1 week, 1 week. We'll fly all over the place. We'll go to Boston for a week. We'll go to Chicago, maybe Minneapolis, Denver, Maui, LA, San Francisco. We're going to be fully vaccinated in just a couple days. So let's get on and go do 8 vacations. I thought that sounded like a great idea, and I got started on looking at accommodations, and wow, I was surprised.
Yep, that went out of the window pretty quickly because of cost. So as it turns out, everybody, it seems like, is wanting to travel now. Everybody has lots of disposable.
U.S., you mean?
In the U.S., it seems like there's lots of disposable income, and the supply of things has changed. So with the car rental companies, they sold off a lot of their fleet. So if we're flying to places, we have to rent a car. So cars are going to be astronomically expensive. It seems like hotels and Airbnbs are booking up. Also, I think Airbnb last year, a lot of the supply diminished. Like people backed out of the Airbnb game because there weren't people coming and staying. And so now there isn't a lot of supply.
And they didn't want people with COVID in their home.
That's exactly right. So just the dynamics of Airbnb changed. And so supply and demand is playing against us this summer, whereas last summer it played into our favor. This summer it's looking like this was not going to be a no-go from a pricing standpoint. As it turns out, it was a no-go, but anyway.
So I'm going to even elaborate on this a teeny bit more. So when I was looking at Airbnbs and hotels, what I was finding is that we were going to be paying about $200+ a night, minimum of $1,500 a week, minimum. up to $2,000, $3,000 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, nothing special. In Boston, so when Tim mentions we would be renting a car everywhere, I mentioned a whole bunch of big cities. If we were in Boston, we wanted to be able to go to Cape Cod and to go to Portland, Maine for day trips and stuff like that. So even though we'd be in the city, we were still open to having a car to be able to do fun day trips.
I think something else that's worth mentioning is that there were places that were potentially affordable, but they were going to be 20 miles outside of the center of a city, and
or
it
more,
was going to be some place that it didn't make any sense. So we're not suggesting that there's just no place in the country that you can go. There's nothing that lined up with our requirements, that lined up with the price point that made sense for us.
So with our European summer out, with our week-to-week vacations out, we said, like, what are we going to do for the months of July and August? I reached out to where we spent last summer, which was in Asheville, North Carolina. We had rented a short-term rental for only $1,800 for 7 weeks. Now, those owners had 4 units all in the same lot, and they were desperate to get them rented last year, and they were thrilled to have the consistent monthly income that we provided and paid up front. Well, we were concerned that COVID last year was going to wreak havoc with our budget. It turns out that it wasn't last year, it's this year. So last year, people did stay home, and we found people who gave a really good deal because of it. It's not happening this summer. So when I reached out to Asheville and said, hey, can we pay you upfront 2 months, do some sort of a deal for the 2 months? I didn't say the same price. They said, no, even though we love you guys and we had a great experience with you, we're not going that route with monthly rentals this year. We're going just for the weekend, knowing that we're just gonna take our chances. We're gonna try to rent our place out to people just for the weekend. So with that kind of caused us to have a bit of once our backup plan was out, we figured we better make some plan right away.
So, surprise, we're going to be doing house sitting for the vast majority of the next 4 months, and we are thrilled with everything that we found so far. So once all these things started to fall apart, some things fell into our lap in terms of things that we found on Trusted House Sitters along with a friend situation, so we'll elaborate on that. But the best thing, or not the best thing, all of these things are amazing. The thing that we're doing first is we are extending our sit here in Silver Spring, Maryland for an additional 3 weeks. We're with 3 little dogs that we are in love with, and we're enjoying our time here, so we're very excited to be here through roughly, when did we leave?
The middle of June. And here we are. Silver Spring, Maryland is really a suburb of Washington, D.C. And the suburb is a real loose term because we're really, really close. But the museums in D.C. are starting to open again. And they're all, the ones that we're looking at are all free. So I already have reservations for 4 of them, and they're opening their reservations slowly but surely. And they have a rollout of when these reservations are going to be available. So I have it all on our calendar, and we're excited to get back to the world of museums and dining out again and all that kind of thing. So we're loving being in Washington, D.C. And then we get in our car and drive up to Westchester County, where one of my very best friends, one of my college roommates, they're heading out of town, and they had asked us to come for only 2 weeks, which is a little bit short for us, but it fit really nicely with what we were doing. We had our car. It's one of my best friends, and so I get to spend some time with her before they go. And we're in Westchester for just about 2 weeks, which brings us to the beginning of July.
Yep. So then Trusted House Sitters came to the rescue again, and we found an amazing sit back here in DC. We are going to be in DC proper,
melting.
This incredible house, watching this one dog who's super cool. He looks like he's going to be a great guy to hang with for 6 weeks. And so we're going to be in this house sit in DC through the middle of August, and then we go to...
Actually, before you do that, this house sit has something I have been wishing for years and years, and I put it out on my public Facebook for years, that I want a house sit with a Peloton bike. This is our first house sit with a Peloton bike. I do not have cycling shoes, and I'm hoping that I am totally ready to do cycling, spinning on a Peloton bike by the time July rolls around, but I do need to find a size 8.5 cycling shoes, 8.5, 9 cycling shoes, so hopefully I can figure that out kind of cheaply, because we're only there for 6 weeks.
The shoes are like $60.
I might end up adding those to our list of stuff, but it would kill me because I wouldn't have any need for them after that.
There you go.
Okay, so then where do we go after DC?
After DC, we are heading up to Philadelphia to a sit that we found there watching one cat. It's a diabetic cat, so it needs daily shots. But we are,
insulin.
I am actually really, really excited about Philadelphia. I can't wait to run up the steps and do the Rocky thing. And I've never really spent any time in Philadelphia. I've been there for business a handful of times, but really it's just in and out and seeing customers, so it wasn't anything where I've experienced the city. So it's going to be a nice 3-week visit we're going to have in Philly.
And I grew up only an hour or two away from Philadelphia, but I didn't spend much time there, and I certainly haven't been there in decades and decades, and things certainly could have changed. So I'm excited to be in that area, and I played the Rocky song for Tim so in the car the other day, so it gets very inspiring to hear that Rocky song, doesn't it?
I'm very inspired.
Okay, now if you are a viewer in these areas, I'm going to put out a little shout out. So New York, we're only there for 2 weeks, and I am from there, so I do have a lot of friends in that area. So it's probably pretty hard to get together in New York. But still in Washington, D.C. and in Philadelphia, we want to meet you. Please reach out to me at amy@GoWithLess.com because we are going to be meeting our viewers, which has been exciting.
And speaking of meeting our viewers, we wanted to talk about some things we've got going on over on our Facebook page. So Amy's doing a feature. There's a Monday feature and there is a Friday feature. So the Monday feature is about meeting our viewers. You want to elaborate on that?
I sure do. So it's Go With Less, no spaces. So we have been meeting viewers for the past year and a half or so. And it has been, we talk about it all the time, how great it's been. But you guys don't know each other. And I'm trying to find a way for our viewers to know each other because you should be friends with each other. You guys are great. We've met tons of you. We've loved all of you. So I'm trying to brainstorm. How do I get you guys to be friends? And one of our viewers who we met a few weeks ago suggested she gave me some suggestions, and they really, I don't know, they really got me excited. So every Monday, I'm going to be doing a feature about Meet Our Viewer Monday, Meet Our Viewers Monday. And generally the people would be on the path to fire. You don't have to be fired, but someone who isn't just like, hey, I'm curious about this whole thing. That's not really what we're talking about. And that's not really who our viewers are. Our viewers are very much on the road to early retirement or have retired early. And many of them, they don't have to be, are looking to become nomadic or are nomads. So I'll tell you that people, if you meet other early retired people, you talk about a lot of, there's just such a value system that is similar, and it's legendary, these lunches and things like that, because you have so much in common. And so I'm trying to do that on Mondays, but I do need people to be highlighting stories for. So if I can share your story, please email me as well. And if we don't have to be disclosing things like your net worth or anything that you don't want to be disclosing at all. And so please email me if I can share your story also at amy@GoWithLess.com. But that's not it.
So the second thing that we've introduced to our page is a Friday feature where we are talking about a travel hacking topic. The last 2 weeks we talked specifically about some credit cards that have some accelerated offers. And so this is just going to be a brief conversation about some travel hacking things that we'll be doing every Friday, or we'll do it until it seems like there isn't interest in that. So it didn't make necessarily a lot of sense to continue to talk about travel hacking here on our channel, even though a decent chunk of our audience seems to be interested in it. There's enough of our audience that is international and can't participate that having the content here just didn't seem to make sense for our audience.
So make sure you go over to our Facebook page as well, Go With Less, and check that out. Our first 2 posts on our Travel Hacking Friday didn't do so well. So if we don't get much traction on those, we're not going to keep it up. So that's kind of up to you of whether or not that's content you find valuable, and if not, then we're going to not keep that up for very long. So here's what we want to know from you. With all of these people leaving and traveling during the summertime, where are you going this summer? Do you have any plans between now and the next 4 months? So we've laid out our summer with you. We're excited to meet a lot of you and excited to hear where you're going. If you could put it down below, look forward to seeing that. Happy Wednesday.
Adios.
See you next week.